David Kelly, Broadside Gaming, Greentide list. So we have Ghazghkull Thraka, a pain boy with bloodthirsty belligerent. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 20-man units of boys. That's what I'm talking about. Now, when I say this, what I'm talking about is because there has been, as the comment we just read, kind of speculation. Do I go to the 100 as the minimum? Do I break it down to 80 and bring more tools and utility? Do I straight saturate for 120 and more? And a lot of the time, the answer had been about 100, but I'm glad to see that we're pushing back into 120. I think if you're really trying to get it going in the tide where we're at in the meta, you do want to get to that. But as well as that, we got the wagons. Now, I have seen people bringing one wagon a lot of the time to kind of hide one of their more elite, mislead type mobs, or to make it easier to just position and kind of sacrificing one of those boy units. But because David sacrificed so many of his characters, as the typical Greentide list, I would say has at least 2 to 3 pain boys, 1 weird boy, 3 war boss, on top of whatever character you bring as well, like a Snikrot or a Ghaz. Now people are starting to bring Ghaz, and even when people would bring Ghaz, they would still bring other war bosses a lot of the time, at least. So this is just a totally different kind of development that we're seeing out here. Not sure if it'll stay, not sure if it's the complete way to go, but he was making it work. And then because he did sacrifice all those characters, he was able to get more of these battle wagons on the list. And then I think I fixed that. Well, no, I think I pull it up. Here, let's fully fixed it visually so you guys can see all at once. So you're still able to pay for the double wagons instead of just paying for one, and then he still reached the 120 boy threshold. Then we go to 10-man units of 11-man units of Gretchen. Now that's straight up, I need to screen my backfield, but if the enemy doesn't have any kind of deep strike, because obviously if they look at you and they go, there's no way I'm getting behind your field, well, you got some more grots for some doing some more stuff. And I love having just more grots on the list, which is just more bodies. Then we go to a 10-man units of Mandos. I am still very, very, very heavily into you need at least one 10-man unit of Mandos with your tide list every single time. Argument, some people are saying for 2, not saying I'm doing that, not saying I'm testing that, not saying for you to do it, just saying but we always have at least one unit of Mandos. Breacher, Rocket, and Power Claw. If people don't know by now, you choose where the war gear goes, including the bomb squid, including the distraction grot. So all your nice stuff and shiny bits in one unit, all your other stuff in the other one with the runts, and then you let and then 2 5-man units of Storm Boys. Some people might find that odd. Maybe I would bring something a little more durable, or I could try to find points for a truck if I drop a Gretchen, or trying to fit some kind of unit into more mobility, durability instead of that kind of mobility. But it's about the mobility. Now, I still to this day see people say I don't like Storm Boys and don't know how to use Storm Boys. Do a video on that, the top 3 units you're using wrong. But in short, Storm Boys, when everything's getting stuck in, all these boys at the mid-table line, and you're fighting and you're worrying about piling in there, you cannot afford to have a stupid biker unit or a buggy or a truck or another unit like a flash gate unit that only moves 6 inches and on 40 mil base to do secondaries, to get in the way, to throw precise grenades, to possibly do interesting heroics, to possibly stop units from making clean charges into a 20-man unit of boys. I mean, just simply being able to have another unit that can get in the way in these matchups. It's like, Storm Boys make their value for more than I just have this unit that's going to run up, do area denial, and then absolutely die. And I think people a lot of the time think just because they have their boys there that can run and do secondary, it means they absolutely have to. Don't throw them away just for like any measly 3 points or 2 points of secondaries, right? Make sure you actually care about how they're being used. And in the Greentide list, I promise you, there are circumstances where having just more bodies to get in the way of maybe counter charges or to interrupt other mobs or matchups, or just maneuvering the battlefield with your fly is a big deal. So at first I was like, man, you paid for both Storm Boys? But yes, he paid for more Storm Boys, because I know ultimately somebody's like, well, I can thin this out more. I can drop a grot and bring him something else other than a Storm Boy unit. There is argument maybe a Snikrot would be kind of interesting, but boys are consistently moving compared to a Snikrot, which is doing his thing like once and then hoping he doesn't get picked up after. Now let's look at his actual path to victory. I don't want to say. All right. let's look at his matchup. I think I do have the missions at least, so that's cool. All right. And no, the storm. Okay, bikers aren't stupid. I absolutely love bikers. Right? If someone's gonna misquote me, be like, "They're going stupid. You stupid." No, you're stupid. Knock your teeth out. No, bikers are great. It's just about once you actually have to move around the field, and you have so many boys in the way and wagons taking positioning, you're just straight up like, "Nah, dude, I can't even get to where I want to go with these guys." So even though I'm a huge fan of bikers, especially now that 65 points, the argument is there. Then you can even say, well, what about a copter unit? They're tougher. They got some rockets for the dakka. Just the fact that your infantry also is big important, at least in that sort of game and what's happening in these fights and these engagements. Because like I always say, when you're fighting with these tide lists, you got to cross that midway point. So let's take a look at his path to victory real quick, and then the matchup he lost, and the list of what each mission was. So let's take a look at his first matchup. It was to the Tyranids invasion fleet. So we have a Neural Tyrant, one Biovore, a Hierophant, really? I was really interested, like, okay, one Malceptor, a Neural Lictor, Norn Emissary, a Psychophage, Screamer Killer, Tyrannofex, and Von Ryan's Leapers. Now, not to be completely disrespectful to the list, of course, right? There is some say that if you don't time your walk correctly and consistent, maybe you can, let this matchup get out of hand. But the fact that you have Ghaz means you have actual proper answers to a lot of these killer units. Rupture cannon, like, okay, my battle wagon, I guess. I would say a nice counter to a big old monster is obviously a Greentide. So that's kind of like I said, I'm at a match. So then we go up to the Gids. What's up, Jet? Whoa, see everybody. His second matchup, which was into Imperial Knight. So I've actually done this matchup into the Imperial Knights, Greentide, Older Tide, and not with Ghaz. So it was very different, I'm assuming, once you actually have Ghaz. So we have Canis Rex, his new and improved form, wink wink, a Knight Castellan, Knight Crusader, 2 Helvrins, 2 Warglaves, Cladius Assassin, and Calexis Assassin. That's fun. I gotta pay me more boys. So oh goodness, guys, I was like, what am I missing? Excuse me. So for mission 1, it was Scorched Earth Tipping Point. Sorry, just the Hierophant just threw me off for a second. I don't know, even though I've seen it, I don't know how I forgot that. Scorched Earth Tipping Point, Hierophant doesn't make it too interesting of a game. But mission 2, Lichpin, Search and Destroy. Okay, now that makes this a bit more of an interesting matchup, in my opinion, on Search and Destroy for the Git. 1, close deployment line zones, right? So you can actually get stuck in. The Knights are all going to be stuck in their little corner of the field, meaning you're going to make contact with a bunch of them. That definitely helps. And personally, I've always appreciated that matchup as an orc. And then them having to actually retain their home field. Now, like I said, you already searched. It's like, okay, whatever. But I like that matchup and these kind of units. None of these are like the CSM versions where they have the battle cannons. I mean, let's see, they have the Shield Breaker missile launchers, Twin Siege Breaker cannon, and then the other one's the Crusader. Yeah, they do have the rapid fire battle cannon, but I would say that the mission itself favors that. I don't know, yeah. Okay, what it is, boys? What's up, Rick B? Whoa! Now, what I was actually more interested in, 86.1 there, excuse me. I feel like Ghaz makes a huge difference there. You have Ghaz, you're playing on Search and Destroy. If you go first, big deal. You actually have the wagons to run up and try to, get stuck in and get in positions and stage up, and then disembark on the following turn, or force them to try and disembark you. Mind you still have the surge, so you're already close to them. If they shoot you at the wrong unit at the wrong time, there's a chance that you can actually blood surge, what was known as blood surge, excuse me, where I should know what the strat is actually called, but I've just always called that. I always just tell people that's what it is so they know what it is. But you can obviously just move into the enemy, then you can start keep regrowing units. So I'm actually totally cool with that, and they're not getting through it. They just dice. The Knights just don't have the dice like that generally. Now, if you stand right in front of them across the table in a big deployment zone, and they can try to pick you apart, then run into your unit, tank shock it and such. But now that we have Ghaz, that matchup sees even more favorable. So now we go and look at his actual third matchup, which is the one he actually lost. Which so far I've been happy, because this guy's a lot of gits, a lot of he has a lot of models, he has wagons, keep himself safe. So, but Now we go into the game he lost, which was against the World. Now, this is the new flavor. If you guys didn't know, overseas, the ITCs, we have a lot of Zerkers around them. So we have Karn the Betrayer, which is absolutely crazy for his point. Whenever I tell Orc players this, right, when we hope to come, just giving a shout out, GW, get ideas. I want us to have an epic character that's a war boss that crumps, similar to how they have Karn. Just saying, that's what I want next edition. Then we have Lord Invocatus, Lord on Juggernaut, and then a Slaughterbound with a Berserker Glaive. So in this matchups, I mean, this list is very simple. 3 big bricks of Khorne Berserkers. Now, if you're not familiar, real quick, I'll just break it down. They have 4 of these Khornite Eviscerators, which is essentially 4 Power Claws. So imagine if your 20-man unit of Boyz had 4 Power Claws. That'd be pretty sick, right? Mind you, these guys innately already move quickly. I think they have like a base movement of 8, I think it is, or something silly. And then they also have built-in blood surges. They can stack lethal sustain. They can also do fights on death. They can do 6-inch pylons and 6-inch pylons as well. And then of course, like the fight on death, like I said. I was trying to remember everything that these guys can do. So it's a big issue of, well, they have the weight, they definitely have the weight of dice, the proper strength values, and yeah. So then on top of that, they also had 1 basic 8-bound unit followed by 1 exalted 8-bound, 2 units of jackals, and then 1 chaos spawn. So early game, a spawn comes out, maybe a jackal comes out, they interact with your mandos, you stage up, and they start to pick you out, try to take out your 8-bound, your wagons with their 8-bound. You're kind of like, well, I have to engage with these guys, not wounding them too well, have to be a little bit of aggressive here. If their objectives, I can reroll wounds. But really, once you have to start dealing with these bricks of Zerks, your units aren't able to really one-shot them. They do have the ability to -1 damage as well. Not that our Greentide lists have a bunch of 2 damage, but any kind of 2 damage units like Ghaz's sweep can be mitigated as well. So even though Ghaz is a huge deal on this, and he does have the potential to absolutely destroy one of these bricks, if they choose to -1 damage, it's going to take that whole Ghaz unit commitment generally to crack through all of them and their characters in a reliable way without the reroll wound strat. And then something else is on the field fighting, getting blended through. So yeah, it's a tough one. And shout out to Plug the Self. We have the after action report coming out, and I'll just say it now. I used our current Warhorde, and I went into about 50 of these Khorne Zerkers, 8-bounds, very similar to this list, and they blend everything, and they're fast, and they can engage with you, and yeah. So, and even these jackals, they get an additional pip of strength when they get on charges. They're built in. I think they're actually T4 instead of T3, as you would assume from normal cultist type units. I mean, the Slaughterbound himself was able to kill like 10 flash gets in our matchup game. So I mean, he himself could be interacting and blasting through mobs of Boyz if you don't roll saves well. So that could be pretty crazy, and I'm not really that necessarily surprised. As for the mission, it was Terraform and then Crucible of Battle. And I think there's also something like if they die, they kill you, they get to stick you the objectives. There's a bunch of fun, silly stuff they can do. But nonetheless, that would definitely be a hard matchup as a Tide player going into very fast, these bricks that can run into you, buzz all through your guys. You hit them, they fight on death and shoot through that unit as well, and then keep hitting you with these smaller units, and then on Terraform trying to take them back. So no shame there. Typically, like I said, these are these WTC tables are more dense, so that's why you see these 60 Zerker lists around the field, because they could just come out and blast into you and interact with you at will. Just like the 8-pound, they're fast enough and such. And yeah, jackals are T4, like I was thinking, so they're just silly. It was silly, I know, because I was like, what, man, my Mando should be crumping them gits, and they weren't. So that was so I'm just saying. Then we go into his 4th game where he makes his comeback here, where he gets Knights again. Oh no, sorry, I said Knights. I'm dumb. It's Black Templars. Why did I say Knights? What was I thinking? I was thinking something else. I don't know what I was thinking. Just I don't read that well, you gets. All right, so then we got a Black Templars list. So we have double. And the detachment is companions vehement. So we have double Castellans, Crusader, Ancient, an extra whatever that guy is, a Judiciar, a double marshals. Then we have, that's what I thought, two of the big Crusader bricks. So as you can see, if you get overseas, whoa, there's a mob meta going on, you guys, right? So when you're looking at the world list that we're going to be looking at next, you can see why Greentide lists were getting appearance and why there was a good mix up of mobs, even though they were playing on GW terrain. It is a meta read. It is an adjustment that's kind of universally happening. If your faction can do it, people are leaning into it. So as you can see, the stats are kind of enveloping while we do the weekly analysis. We're watching the tide slowly rise, but also that means we see the other mobs crumping around, and we got to get stuck in. So then we had, so I got too excited, but two big bricks of Crusaders, followed by an Intercessor, double Black Templar Impulsors, one Assault Intercessor, Jump Pack Intercessor, excuse me, Black Templar Repulsor Executioner, Infiltrator, and then 2 units of Sword Brethren. What is actually respectable on this is that you got more mobs than them, and it's going to take their true commitment to clear them. Your regrowing is going to be great, and your Ghaz backbreaking potential is going to be great. What's nice about Ghaz is that now he's going to retain the Feel No Pain longer generally because Invuln on longer, and he's going to be able to keep regenerating guys. Plus, that buff that he's giving to that unit is going to exist on top of the reroll strat. So he's going to be able to keep getting stuck in and crumping through these mobs, which would feel great. They have like nothing other than Armor of Contempt for their defensive. I don't even know if that. Yeah, they do. What was I going to say, dude? This ain't CSM. Of course they have armor. Whoa, chap. And then, but yeah, this has always been a melee kind of struggle. We go back and forth. Again, though, this was a take and hold mission, so obviously very simple, but it was a search and destroy. So when you got these mobs and they're kind of just stacking on the line, and of course they still have infiltrators the unit, but we have the double Mando units. We can cover more of the field. If you deploy your Mandos first, then your mobs can stage up first, take position, and then crump on them. It's a search and destroy matchup for a Greentide, though it would be very annoying to actually deploy, and you do end up kind of stuffed in the backfield. You just surge over them. So, okay, I'll run into you. If you shoot me too much, there's a chance I can move and actually get into combat with your unit. I'll regrow some guys on 2 objectives. I'll take the staging stage first, and so this would be just a nice slogger knocker, good fight, good old fashioned crumping. And then we go into the last matchup. It was nice to see that we're doing a mob better than the other mob, right? Then we go into the Necron with this the Scatterstar. So we have double Hexmark Destroyer, Luminor Suzeros, Emotech the Stormlord, Psychomancer, Technomancer, and Silent King. Just looking at all those characters as a Greentide list, I'm like, yeah, you probably don't have enough stuff. Then we have Swarm, followed by a Canoptic Wraith unit, some Crypto Thralls, double Doomsday Arc, a Flayed one, double Locust Destroyers, a Scorpack Destroyer, and a Tombblade. So through all my, matchups with Necrons with Greentide, this is one of those ones that they're not known for their durability necessarily against such volume of punches. And even if they do, like, for example, right, Doomsday Arc, typically very annoying for most armies to deal with because there's a built-in 4-up, it has a good amount of toughness, not toughness, excuse me, good amount of wounds, but it lacks in toughness, and it has long range interaction. Once we start touching this as Orks, and if we can make contact with something like this variety, we just blend through it with just the amount of sheer dice we're putting on it. Once we also have Ghaz on this list, not saying they're gonna give us that, not saying we're gonna get that one in this matchup, because this was, like I said, this was his last matchup, because I should have said the mission first. This was Purge the Foe and Crucible of Battle. So what I mean by that is he's not necessarily and typically in the matchups going to want to give you like these 40 points Locust Destroyers, these little flayed ones, and try to just burn through all his little chaff. If he does, of course you can do better on Purge, but then he has nothing left and he has to stay toe to toe with you, and you're like, oh, you have a Canoptic Wraith unit. Of course, Canoptic Wraith units are respectable. They can wound, they can fight, they're regen, they're hard to take out. They'll regen on each phase, so you can't really do anything about it. They can bring back multiple of those wraiths, but you have Ghaz, you have reroll wounds. Those guys are generally always on wounds, and you're always putting just a stupid amount of dice on them. And then once you have that, they expect Ghaz, they expect Emotech, Luminor Suzeros to do a lot of the heavy lifting, and that's just not the profiles you want into Greentide units. So having double wagons that you can stage all these boys up in, zoom them into great staging positions. Then you have other boys jumping, walking forward, meandering behind cover, getting chipped at, growing a little bit closer, and then just pile driving into them, out OCing them, and honestly just deliberately chewing away at all these units. He doesn't have that many units either, even though he does have like he doesn't have to have Lettuce Gretchen to get interacted with necessarily. Keep his Storm Boy, so he's about 4 or 5 units that are getting killed reliably often, and then the battle wagons are the other kind of, well, if they focus with the Orks and get shots on them, then yeah, they're gonna mop them, but that's not good for like tempo for their scoring for Purge, right? So 75-point win there. Hard when both these lists don't actually have a ton of units, and but then when it comes down to, we have a lot more OC. We're gonna be pushing the pace. You guys don't have the dice for us. That would be fantastic. That was a good read on overall how the meta was going to be shaking out. But as you can see, what he lost to, what he faced, that 4th round, it's a thing right now, guys, that people are running mobs and just bringing more and more units and more and more models. Not just the read like we've seen from winning the people who won worlds of mass unit count. So last shout out for this get, and then ITC, we had Ghaz, a Pain Boy, Bloodthirsty Belligerents, 120 boys, 2 wagons, 2 units of Gretchen, 1 Mando unit, and then 2 units of Storm Boys. So shout out to David Kelly. I really appreciate that he was willing to drop all those characters. I do personally still have the crutch of wanting to take war bosses. I would still want war bosses on my units personally. So if we ever talk to Kelly or anybody knows in the comments, let me know if he would consider that in his change, or if it's really worth it to really just drop for 2 war bosses. You can just get a whole unit of boys. So if that's really worth it. So nice to see. Ultimately, we'll wonder if this change stays through the meta, if more people adopt this style of Greentide. Nonetheless, war for David Kelly. Another thing to check out is our sponsor, the Baron of Dice. They make high quality custom dice. If you enjoy our content and want to show some love, check out the Baron of Dice custom dice, including Wall Tactics official dice. To support us, use our discount code in the description for 5% off, because nobody likes taxes. If you enjoyed the clip, check out the full video here. If you'd like to see more tactics, click here.
Let's get stuck in, lads!